Professor Michele Nicoletti, welcome to Dublin today, where you're giving a talk at the Royal Irish Academy called Democracy, Truth and Trust in Europe, the same day that the UK Parliament has voted down the EU deal for the third time. I think it's clear from indicative voting recently that the UK Parliament doesn't want to leave with no deal, but it's very unclear just what they want to do. What is your view as to what's going on in Westminster at the moment?
It's difficult to say, but the good news is that we have more time to reflect on this decision, which is not relevant only for the UK but for the entire Europe, because the effects and consequences of an eventual Brexit will be, I think, very negative also for other countries, like my countries, for example. The idea is that my idea is that the national states are not able to challenge the present situation, and we need something more than the traditional national states. And if not Europe, what else can we have to fight against terrorism, to have more wealthy societies, to protect our citizens and so on? We need more cooperation, not less cooperation.
Okay, so Brexit may happen very soon now, with or without a deal, more likely without. How do you feel that's going to affect the member states' economies and the remaining states within the Union?
Well, the effects will be negative on the economic level, but what is worse is the symbolic message that can be given through this decision. I would like to remind the fact that 70 years ago it has been signed the Treaty of London in London, founding the first European institution, which is the Council of Europe. And in this first article, the member states committed themselves to achieve a greater unity between their states, because they wanted to react to the tragedy of nationalism and totalitarianism with, as I said, more unity and more cooperation. And I would say that the fact that that treaty was signed in London should be a kind of a great reminder to the European vocation of the UK.
So for Ireland, which has very close ties historically and politically, etc., to the UK, how do you feel Ireland could perhaps recalibrate its relationship with the EU and indeed the broader world?
Yeah, I have to say that what I really found irresponsible was not to consider the impact of this decision, especially on Ireland, which is the country which is closest to the UK and which is a history of strong, of course, cooperation and friendship. And also in my region, I have to say that Europe was so fundamental to overcome difficulties that we had between Italy and Austria, and only in Europe we were able to dilute the poison of nationalism and the obstacles of having walls and borders within the same European community. And I really hope that this Irish question will be considered and solved in the most positive way.
Okay, so the rise of populism within Europe and the upcoming European elections, how do you see that panning out, and indeed in your own country, Italy?
Yeah, it is certainly, we have to interpret this phenomena. It's not enough to say that it is a negative phenomena or have a negative impact on the national or international institution. And I interpret this phenomena, populism or sovereignism, as an expression of the fear of the people of being dispossessed by themselves, but the possibility of self-governing their lives and their community. and the sovereignism and populism, which from my point of view are totally negative and unproductive, are the expression of a real concern, of a real worry and fear, anxiety of our citizens. And we have to take serious this feeling, and we have to answer to this feeling in a more positive and constructive way. Probably the reaction is against supranational institutions which have been built with not enough respect to local communities, national identities, and not enough respect towards the principle of subsidiarity, which is one of the pillars of the European construction. And so I think that that answer is a wrong response, but we have to provide a better positive response to this kind of anxiety of our citizens.
So what can the EU do to reaffirm that trust and confidence in the European institutions, do you feel?
Well, coming from Italy, I have to say that my country has suffered a lot in the last 10 years. We call the terrible decade for economic reasons, but also for the migrant crisis and so on. And we have, of course, we have great responsibility at national level. I don't want to undermine our part of responsibility, but many citizens have experienced a lack of solidarity from the European Union, the perception that the national state was the good father who could protect the citizens, and the European Union was, on the contrary, just the guardian of austerity and so on. So if the European Union want to regain the trust and confidence of citizens, they have to pay more attention to social condition of the people. We cannot divide civil and political rights on one side and social rights on the other side. We need more attention to social justice and possibilities, especially for the young people, for having jobs and good conditions of working together and creating their own families and lives.
You might just highlight what you're going to be speaking about later on today.
Yeah, I will speak about the present condition in Europe from an anthropological point of view. I will focus on this perception of fear and anxiety, which is so widespread in Europe today due to fear of terrorism or migrants and so on. And I will try to give a positive answer to this kind of condition, proposing the principle of self-belonging as a pillar of a new reconstruction of personal and collective life.
Professor Nicoletti, thank you very much.
Thanks to you.